may find some of this a little bit repetitive because between Stefano and Nuno, they've said some of the things that I'm going to say, but Stefano did say you need to hear it 7 times before you commit it to to memory, so it's going to be okay. So my my talk is about trying to sort of be mindful of the pitfalls of using AI, especially to communicate animal research, because it's a topic for which we have a number of challenges, both political and sort of generally societal. So there is that element of trying to be as responsible as possible, and being brainwashed by my husband about Marvel. I have to use that quote that with great power comes great responsibility. So, like these guys have already said, it's an incredibly powerful tool to create both engaging and actually professional content and communicate research to both the public and actually professional practitioners. So the use and the technology of AI is rapidly evolving. And so what I kind of want to see generally is that we embrace the use of it, but we drive it in the right direction. So, and we need to be very, very mindful of the fact that there are a number of ethical considerations that we need to take into account whenever we use these tools. So we need to be transparent, very accurate, and respectful, both of the audience, but especially, I think, the animals that are involved in the research, because they didn't ask to be involved. So that's the idea of this talk. It's going to be quite short. So the text content, these guys have already told you that you can use them to create really engaging, interesting, technical content, but you have to research your subject thoroughly. The prompts that you give it have to be so that the tool is able to give you the answer that you need. So the scrutiny of the sources is really paramount. And like these guys have already said, they have been shown to hallucinate, but not just kind of create content that's factually incorrect that you can kind of get it, but they create actually DOI numbers for publications that don't exist. And this has been demonstrated by a number of people, but specifically by this guy at the University of Oxford, who found this paper. Luckily, he was an expert in the field, found this paper quoted by one of his students and just went to search and couldn't find it anywhere. But it looked perfect. It had authors, it had title, it had the journal, it had the DOI number, everything was there, but the publication actually didn't exist. And then went on to do a number of searches and found that it's not that rare. So you want to make sure that that's kind of taken into account. You need to be very specific. You need to tell it what you're aiming for, what type of content you want. If you want to produce a scientific article, a press release, is a completely different set of things. And Nuno was talking about the non-technical summaries. They're completely different sets of text. So you can't just tell it to use your sources to produce 2,000 words. You need to be very, very specific and constantly refine the prompts, like Nuno said. Once you've got your first result, you need to look at it very, very carefully and refine, and then save your prompt and use it again, because these things are not learned. They are learning as we use them. So the more we train them, the better they become. So that's the other idea. So all the final revision also need to be yours. And again, you want to always acknowledge the use of your models. And then the visual content. So I'm all for really nice images because they really aid your work. But one thing that you always need to check, and here I need to acknowledge Understanding Animal Research, which is kind of the equivalent of ERA in the UK, and is actually a member of ERA. They do a lot of training about the use of images in communicating animal research. So you want to ask yourself every time you see something, whether it's AI generated or not, or hand drawn, is it anatomically correct? Is the style of drawing appropriate? Is it cute? It doesn't have to be, and in fact, it's better if it isn't. And if it's made by AI, has it been made to look like human-like? Because all of those things are alarm bells when it comes to using this kind of content for communicating animal research. It has to be realistic, and in fact, it's much, much better to do real images of animals in the context that they used, rather than creating sort of graphic that it's not real. Every time you post something that isn't real, the people that don't believe in the usefulness of animal research immediately start thinking, why aren't they showing me the real things? Why are they hiding behind a cute draw? And you always need to think that these people are the ones that are rowing against what we're trying to do. And then when we use AI, and I hope I'm not offending anyone's sensibility with that image, but it was actually published by Frontiers in Cell Developmental Biology. That image was a disaster from start to end. Now, the AI tools at the moment are probably a little bit better than that. But as Damien showed it in his demo, they still make similar mistakes when they're trying to generate images that are scientifically minded. So here, there's nothing right about this rat, apart from looking vaguely like a rat. All of the annotations are pretty much wrong. The way the reproductive system is displayed is ridiculous. No scientist would ever do that. So the fact that it actually made it into a journal, however good or bad that journal is, and that I leave to you to comment, but the reality is that that was a complete disaster, and we need to be really careful about what we do. So the reality is that maybe we didn't need that. Maybe somebody should have looked at it, but the fact is that made it into a journal. Another thing that people tend to do quite often is to show animals in what look like laboratory settings that are totally unrealistic. I can't think of any place in the world now or even decades ago that would have had rats in like a Perspex box with some kind of falcon tube on top and on the bench. I mean, that's just not. And this was found on a website only the other day. And again, that doesn't contribute to our cause of communicating animal research in an ethical, transparent way. That gives people completely the wrong idea. So we really need to try and counteract those things. So if you can use real photos or video footage of animals in a laboratory setting that is actually real, that's the best possible way. If not, is the image or video helpful or detrimental to your message? And can it be misinterpreted? If you ask yourself these questions every single time you put a picture of anything on social media or on a piece of content that you publish on website or wherever, then I think you will find that as scientists, you will know the answer and you will know what to do. So that's it, guys. I would like to thank Masha for organizing this webinar, which has been really interesting. And then Mary and Hannah from Understanding Animal Research for providing some information and images. And if you need anything from my side, that's my email address. And if you have any questions,